Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Yammy Noob. Thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Seriously. You could have watched any videos. You picked this one. I don't know why you picked this one. But something tells me it's probably because you're interested, either directly or tangentially, in the motorcycle I have in front of me. The Suzuki SV650X. So in case you guys don't know, this is our giveaway Suzuki SV650X. We have tons of other giveaway motorcycles going on right now. If you click the link down below to yammynoob.co, you can find out about all of our giveaway motorcycles we've got going on. On this round of beginner bike giveaways, we've got the SV, the MT-03, the Sparkpillen 401, and 2 Honda Groms. We've got a Yamaha R1 as part of our Expert Bike giveaway series. It's a really cool thing we got going on. You're not going to want to miss it. I think it's spectacular. But anyways, let's get back to this motorcycle. So what is this thing? This is Suzuki's SV650 platform. It's been around since 1999. It is, in my opinion, the gold standard of naked and 650 class bikes. But Suzuki has made a couple of changes to this X model. And so key among them are these clip-ons here. So, as many of you guys know, a naked motorcycle is typically adorned with bars that are nice and upright, gives you a torquey, fun, playful bike, but is also comfortable to ride on the street. The X also wears an interesting little cowl up front, gives it kind of a retro flavor to it. It's also got this different seat right here. It's got this nice kind of, I don't know what you call this, I guess ribbed for your pleasure leather seat here. Maybe something like that. Just got demonetized. That's cool. But besides that, and the adjustable suspension up front for preload only, no rebound or compression right here. But besides that, the SV650X basically is just an SV650. It's not too different. So let's take a ride on this thing and let's try to understand who would actually buy this thing, what I think of it off the get-go, and if it's substantially different enough to the SV650 to warrant a different iteration of it. So let's jump aboard and let's get started. Alrighty guys, turning the SV650X on here, you'll see that it's the same 645cc lovable little V-twin that Suzuki's got going on here. Makes about 75 horsepower, mostly in the top end. Not as punchy low down as something like Yamaha's MT-07, but still a very, very nice engine, as you can see here. Nice and pokey, nice and loud, but once you get an exhaust on the thing, it sounds even better. So let's get moving here. And boy, does it feel good moving. It is officially summer here in Austin, Texas, and it is hot. So right off the bat, I think the Suzuki SV650X does a great job of kind of nailing that neo-retro look. I mean, it hasn't done much. All it's really done is just added this slight little cowl to it. But really, I think by adding the cowl and some of these kind of retro flavors, it's really succeeded in doing that kind of cafe bike look thing. It's a weird thing to put clip-ons on it, but at the same time, I think if they had kept the bars and just done like an XSR treatment on the SV, I think people would have just lampooned Suzuki for copying Yamaha. And Suzuki's not in the business of copying Yamaha, mostly because I think they got pissed off that Yamaha went and copied their bike and made it better back in 2014 with the MT-07. They were like, wait, what the hell? We own this category. We invented the Suzuki SV650. This is our game. And so now Suzuki with the SV650X has gone back to the drawing board a little bit, gave this thing clip-ons, made it a little bit more interesting, and really I think this bike positions itself very uniquely in the marketplace now. I don't know of another 650 class bike that comes with clip-ons from the factory. And, you know, it's interesting because you might look at the ergonomics of this thing and you're like, oh man, it's just like my R6, it's just like a Super Sport. But in reality, Suzuki didn't change the foot pegs and they didn't change the seat height at all. So this actually feels exactly like my old R3's ergonomics, where I just put the clip-ons, instead of being on top of the forks here, I just slid them underneath the forks and called it a day. So really, you get kind of this blend of ergonomics. It's not a super sport ergonomics by any means, but it's also not a naked bike, obviously, because you're way leaned over. So this thing feels sort of like a sport bike, but not exactly. And I think it's all the better for it because Suzuki's SV650's engine, this peppy little 645cc SV twin, it's a really lovely engine to rev out, and you want to rev it out. It's not like the MT-07 or Ducati's 803cc scrambler engine where it doesn't feel great revving it out. This little bike, you know, it really loves to get out in the RPMs, and the throttle characteristics really tell you to rev it out too. It's very quick to rev up, it's very quick to get up in the RPMs, and it feels like a blast doing it. If you want a stylish motorcycle that evokes some sport bike kind of feelings, but you're obviously not wanting to start on something like an R6, you've committed yourself to the 650 class because you think it's going to be a great starting point, and it is, take a look at something like this, because this is a really cool bike. Unfortunately, now we're once again going at a snail's pace, so I guess just soak in the scenery, guys. So one thing that's important to remember about the SV650 is if you are considering using it more like a sport bike, the bike does come equipped with 120/70/17s up front and a 160/55/17 in the rear. It is not a 180/55/17 in the rear like most sporting motorcycles have today. It's also not a plus size tire like some kind of leader bike. So it's this 160 size tire, so not the best, but I'm almost positive you can slap on a 180 and get all the proper tires that you'd want for this thing, because the OE equipment tire is not that great on this motorcycle. I would personally swap something like a Q3 or an S22, give it more of that quick flick-in, sporting nature, and go have fun with this bike. I think this motorcycle makes a lot of sense for the guy or girl who wants a bike to start out with, but that they can grow into, and then without making basically any major modifications, can go take to a track day and have some fun. I'm a big advocate of taking whatever bike you got to a track day, because it's going to teach you a lot of what your bike can actually do given environmental conditions. It's going to teach you a lot about what your bike's actually capable of and what you're capable of too, you know. As we exit this twisty road section here, get up on the highway with the SV650X, you know, you might bemoan the lack of wind protection here, but it gets up to speed just fine. And as I said, the engine really wants to rev out. It makes it a blast to ride. That quick turn throttle and that peppy nature of the throttle as well makes downshifts a breeze. Suzuki really nailed this transmission, clutch, and throttle combo, in my opinion. It's one of the best in the 650 class. I really, really like it. It's a standout feature for me. I think in slow speeds, the throttle can be a tad bit snatchy, but I've mentioned that in my original Suzuki SV650 review as well. So yeah, man, I think with the different paint on here, the kind of retro Suzuki logo, the beautiful little flakes here in the tank as well, I think Suzuki's done like just enough to differentiate this from the regular SV, but it's not a ton. This bike is not super different from the SV650, much in the same way that the XSR 700 is not super different from the MT-07. Oh yeah, run that red light, bro. It's a really playful little bike, more so than the SV650, I think, because you're in this more committed riding position with these clip-ons. You got a little bit more going on with it. It's a lot of fun to wring its neck, honestly. And this to me makes me feel like if more people rode motorcycles like this, I think Twins Cup racing and Twins Class racing would be a lot more popular. So Moto America right now runs a Twins Cup series, and you see a lot of MT-07s and SV650s out there fully prepped, you know, GSXR front ends, hopped up, really race prepped stuff, slicks, all that good stuff. But I think it would really show people that these are really great learning tools to understand how to ride on track really, really well. And so to me, I'm getting a lot of Twins Cup kind of vibes out of this bike. And it makes sense because Suzuki's SV650 is one of the more popular platforms to turn from street bike to track bike. I know, like, I don't know, 6 different guys who run SV650s as track bikes. I know probably 5 other ones who have started their riding careers on track on an SV. One of our Discord members, actually, Bankshift Bill, his first track motorcycle was a beat-up SV650 Mule. So the SV650 is a very known platform, and people are super familiar with modifying them and having fun with them. So this bike, I could see, if you wanted to have some fun with it and take it to a track day, would work pretty well. What else can I tell you about this motorcycle? So much like the other SV650 model, you know, it's the brakes are nothing to write home about. These Tokiko calipers, very wooden feeling, not very good. This master cylinder is not great either. It completely does the job, but it's this very squishy, non-progressive, non-bitey feel, and it just feels like I don't have a lot of stopping power. But I am a very discerning rider, since I do race and ride track days quite often. I am very discerning about my brakes. I think if this is your first motorcycle, you won't really have a problem with it. You're going to feel totally fine with it. Not going to be a big deal at all. Do a brake test here. Yeah, with the SV, you're really going to want to use that engine braking to help you slow down. Otherwise, just relying on the brakes is really not going to be enough. But I think that should be common practice for you if you're practicing good riding techniques, is to downshift and use that engine braking to help slow you down. But you're definitely going to want to use it on the SV. Yeah, it really rips, honestly. It's really, like, it'll do it. I really, the thing that I love about this engine is it's really peppy. It really pops and it really wants to rev out. It's so different from the NT07's engine. It's really rewarding to get this thing actually out and up in the revs. You know, the one thing that is a little disappointing about this bike is its flicking. I do credit that a lot to the tires. I think they're the ones that are really causing this bike to not feel super great when you shuck it into a corner. But I would really be interested to see how this bike would do if we slapped on some more aggressive tires onto it, because I feel like it deserves it. The other really nice thing about the SV650X is its weight. It's a very manageable, I think 415 pounds, ready to ride. So it doesn't feel super heavy, but it also doesn't feel super lightweight and featherweight either. It feels substantial. The gas tank is made out of metal, so this is one of the contact points you have for the motorcycle besides these controls right here. It touched the gas tank. It feels sturdy, metallic, and I guess raw and real. MT07 has that plasticky kind of feel to the gas tank, which isn't a bad thing. That just makes it a little bit easier to change out the colors if you wanted to. One thing that this second generation SV650 has, or I guess third generation? I don't know. This latest generation SV650 has is a feature called Shift Assist. So if you notice, if you do have an SV650 and you're riding it around, if you put it into first gear, you'll notice the revs slightly climb up, and that's to allow you so that you don't stall the bike out when you're pulling out of a stoplight. So it's actually a feature that Suzuki put into the bike so that beginners wouldn't stall their motorcycles, and it's a little bit easier to get away from a stoplight. So I'm pretty sure you can actually pull out the clutch and barely apply any throttle, and the SV will actually still just guide you along the road, and then you can just apply throttle as need be. So let's give that a shot here. Might stall in front of some people, but whatever. So we are stopped here, and then if I pull the clutch away, I mean, I literally didn't apply any throttle, and I'm good to go. I'm going now, So that's an interesting feature that Suzuki's applied here. So they know that people who are starting to ride are looking at this motorcycle. So taking it through here in, I guess, some sort of suburban shopping center thing, we're trying to do some low-speed testing on the SV650. So what's it like trundling along in first gear around town type of thing? And it's really not that bad. I don't know if this is a one-way, but I'm going to keep going. I'm trying to see if it's lurchy or herky-jerky and lower revs, and I'm not really noticing much. Laying off the throttle here, back on it. One thing you do notice, as opposed to an MT-03 or one of the smaller displacement beginner bikes, is, it's a bigger engine. So if you're in first gear and you whack the throttle, it's going to really move, right? So if I'm here just in first gear and I just give it a handful of throttle, I just really wakes up. And that's good. You want that responsiveness. You want that character and flavor of the motorcycle. Do a little U-turn here. Yeah. Even with clip-ons. Pretty easy motorcycle to ride. Typically motorcycles with clip-ons are a little bit harder to ride at low speeds, but the SV650 is actually pretty easy, honestly. Easy going little motorcycle. So overall, I think Suzuki's built a very interesting bike here. It's, again, just different enough from the SV650 to warrant a different model, but it's also one of those things where it's like, guys, it's literally an SV650. Like, it's not super different. It's just got, you know, a little bit different fairings, different clip-ons, and that's kind of it. So if you're really into the look and you want a more sporty 650 versus the naked ones, this is the one to get, in my opinion. The only other 650 I can think of that is more sporty like this is Honda's CBR 650R, the fully faired one. Not the cool, naked, neo-retro looking one that we had last year, but the actual 650R, that one. Other than that, I can't think of any 650 class bikes or bikes like this that actually work for what you'd be trying to do with it. Come on, get into first gear. There we go. And I was just saying how the gearbox is great. Come on, Suzuki. Don't let me down like this.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. Why don't you click this one right over here and you can keep watching some more of your sweet Papa Yam. Maybe this one will have fun memes in it. Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe I crash a motorcycle. Who can say? Maybe you should click and find out.